Okay, welcome everybody to the fourth Urban Innovator webinar series. My name's Piers. Just a quick reminder to keep your microphone on mute. Delighted to welcome everybody today. Next slide, please. Super. Okay, today's topic is Workspitality. Starting now. Okay, next slide, Justin, please. All right, this is the fourth on the run up to the Urban Living Festival. It's happening in November. It's the only leadership and investment event for urban innovators to collectively define how we work, stay and live in the future. Just some housekeeping guidelines there. Looking forward to a 45-minute discussion with our panel. Big thank you to Joe and Justin, who are our co-hosts today. And there'll be approximately a 15-minute Q&A at the end. That's me. We're publisher of Boutique Hotel News, Service Department News, and ShortTermRentals.com. And here are our Urban Innovator guests. I hope Stéphane and Matt have made it onto the call. Okay. David, would you like to introduce yourself for 2 minutes or so, and just tell us a bit more about WeWork and how the brand is going?
Sure. So I work for WeWork. Those not familiar with us, we are one of the largest global providers of space as a service, otherwise known as co-working. It's got too many names to name now. We are coming up for our 10th anniversary. We were started in New York. Initially very sort of traditional co-working focus, but over the past 10 years, we pivoted to a more sophisticated offering, catering to a lot more corporates, what we would call enterprise, and scaling to about 100 buildings now globally. I head up the UK and Ireland real estate team. I've been at WeWork for nearly 3 years now. We are the biggest tenant in London, and the biggest provider of flex in London. So we think we have a lot of insight into how people use access space, from design to operating to everything you could possibly imagine. So we think that gives us quite a really interesting insight that maybe other more traditional landlords don't get, because we are also very focused on collecting as much data around our buildings as possible. And we think we've got a lot of insights, which I'm sure we'll share throughout this webinar, about what we've seen as a result of COVID and what we see as the future of office, and how hospitality will become more and more important post COVID.
Okay, thank you. And how old is your brand?
So nearly 10 years.
Okay.
And in the UK, we've been here about 5 years now.
Debbie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Piers. Hi, I'm Debbie Wosskow. I'm the co-founder of Allbright. Allbright is a brand that supports smart-minded, ambitious women with the objective of building the global sisterhood of females. And we do that in 2 different ways. We think that physical space can stand for something above and beyond just bricks and mortar. And so we operate 2 in London, 1 in Los Angeles, and soon to be our 4th club in New York City. And they are a members club concept with spaces to eat, drink, be merry, a lot of very deep programming that happens in our building every day, spaces to work, but we are most definitely not a co-work space. And our membership in the UK and the US are split pretty equally between female entrepreneurs, freelancers and consultants. As important as our physical space is the digital part of our business, and in my past life, I'm a serial tech entrepreneur. And so we built a platform to help to support women who don't happen to live in London or New York or Los Angeles to become part of the Allbright family. And that is our Allbright digital membership, where you're able to experience a lot of the Allbright content, which is both inspiring but also upskilling. Connect a little bit like a LinkedIn meets masterclass for women, and find mentors around the world. Our business is just over 2 years old and has scaled up considerably over that 2-year period. Obviously, COVID has had an enormous impact on our business because our clubs have been shut. They're due to reopen UK and US on the 6th of July, but the experience will be a little bit different, at least to start with. And the opportunity in the way that entrepreneurs make lemonade from lemons of the last 3.5 months has been to scale up our digital platform at a time when women are consuming more content than ever, but also where women are being hard hit by COVID. 40% of women who work in the UK work part-time, and part-time jobs are most at risk. And when we have spoken to our community about what they see life being like post-COVID, 2/3 of them are looking at pivoting in their careers over the next few months. And during this time when we've all been getting used to home working, women still, not in every household, but in many households, bear twice the mental load of men for everything that we've all had to live with, from homeschooling to household chores. So at Allbright, we have one dog in the fight, which is women. We're still at only 10% of all capital raised going to back a female CEO, 7% of investors female, 2% at partner level. So we're looking to change the conversation for working women, but we think that space and physical space still has a really important play in that mission.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. Matt, I think you've joined us. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, can you let me know if you can hear me okay?
Yeah, that's good for me.
Cool, and can you
Brilliant.
see a face, or am I all blacked out?
I can see a face and a white shirt.
Cool, excellent work. All right, look, good afternoon. Look, first and foremost, Piers and guys, thank you for putting this together today and giving us all the platform to share our views and to share our insight about what we are as a business, where we are today, and obviously what the future looks like. I'm joining the panel today on behalf of Labs or Lab Tech. We're sort of an asset class business where we own the bricks and mortar that we work in. We as a business here, we're about 3 years old, which in the world of flexible workspace, co-working, hospitality is actually quite one of the younger players in the industry. And there's lots of really, really good people around there doing some great things within flexible workspace. And what we are trying to do is bring ourselves to the table with our own offering. As of today, we are operating in sort of 3 locations around the world. Primarily those are Camden, Holborn and Tel Aviv. By this time next year, all being well, we'll be operating in 14 buildings across London and the building in Tel Aviv as well. And we operate somewhere in the region of about 1 million square foot of flexible workspace environments. Now, for us, on top of that, which I think is a point where we're all here to talk about today, is we also have other brands and segments and verticals that form part of our business. So we have a service department business called Stay, which is going from strength to strength in Camden and King's Cross and other locations across Europe. But we also have a large retail footprint and a cafe and hospitality footprint as well across each of our buildings, both as concessions within those buildings and also as retail outlet, retail units as well across Camden and Holborn. So we can take a view on a number of ways. We can claim we're an office provider, we can claim we're a service department provider, but first and foremost, what's clear to us is we want to say we are firmly in the hospitality industry, and that's what we want to convey to people.
Okay, thank you, Matt. I don't think Stéphane's trying to get on the call at the moment, but there's a connection issue. So Stéphane Bensimon, just to highlight, President and CEO of WOJO, which is Accor's new co-working brand. If Stéphane does join us, of course, we can find out more about that. On to the next slide. It just highlights what you guys have been up to recently. Accor rolling out the WOJO brand with a target of 1,200 properties, some within the Accor hotel group and some outside. Matt, yourself with the Labs Collective and what you've been doing on the safety program with COVID. WeWork, the investment in from the Indian division. And Debbie, your big fundraise and perhaps what your company is now worth. Well done. Okay, just to put the conversation into context, there are some points there that I highlighted. I won't read every one of them out. The one that I will read out is the one at the bottom, talking about workspitality, because it's clearly not a trend when somebody does trademark the term. Accor, I was informed, have trademarked the term, hence the R after the word there. And Accor define it as reconciling the world of work with necessary values, so as every individual may flourish. We watch over our community and we help to preserve a caring and friendly mindset made up of availability, interactions, and care in our workspaces. To scope out the conversation further as well, I'm going to play a video after this slide, which is approximately 2 minutes. It was filmed just before lockdown, pre-COVID, and we actually went out on the streets of London and asked people what co-working meant to them. But before we do play the video, this is what we're here to talk about today. So the topics that we will cover, and we'll try and stay. Okay, Justin, can we play the video? Super.
With Urban Living Festival right around the corner, we decided to take to the streets of London and see what the people knew about co-living, co-working, and what they thought about urban living in the new decade. So you've ever heard of anything called co-working before? I've not.
No, not really. Like working with other people?
Yes.
Co-working, I know.
Yeah.
Co-working, I would think, probably means working on the same project at the same time with someone else. Co-working on an assignment or project. Yeah, I assume.
Yeah.
It's probably not right.
There is a couple of office buildings now that are trying to get multiple companies in onto the same floor and trying to. It's more collaboration. It's getting ideas and things that you may think of are not the same ideas that others will think of, and using that to grow your business and grow your brand.
So what does that sort of idea mean to you?
I mean, that is that you just you pay a monthly subscription and you get to go in and use the space, and it might be like a hot desk thing, or it could be like a fixed desk.
Do you know any of like the big major brands?
WeWork.
Like WeWork?
Yeah, Regent. Those are the two big ones I know. Cool. Yeah, like WeWork and all of that.
No, not really. No, I mean, I might have done, but it's not the sort of thing that I kind of take on board. I just kind of, If it sounds almost like a buzzword, so I'd kind of just go in my head. Your head. Yeah, I think so.
Have you ever heard of any of the big brands in that? Some companies like WeWork?
Yeah, I have. Yes.
Cool. Have you ever participated in any sort of like a co-working environment or anything like that?
Yeah. I had my own company a few years ago, and we used to work with a workspace.
Okay, I hope that's put a bit of context into the discussion that we're having. One thing that I wanted to highlight is perhaps, how the transformation in work over the last 5 years and the future is perhaps unprecedented. And there's a lot of businesses at the moment that are having to future-proof, ultimately, their productivity through their teams, etc. But Debbie, I wanted to perhaps start with yourself with regards to your product offering and how you had to change perhaps and change quickly during the crisis, and perhaps what you're implementing post-crisis within the membership at Allbright. Were there some key learnings?
Okay, so maybe just to frame the discussion around what Allbright is and what Allbright isn't, and that's partly due to where we think the business opportunity is in terms of model. So we don't think that co-work works for our community in the sense of there simply being a workspace available for women to work from. We don't think that there's enough margin in it from a business model perspective, and we don't think there's enough value add in there in terms of a hearts and minds membership commitment to a community. And Allbright from the very beginning has been about community because we're mission driven as an organisation, and our mission is to change the conversation for women who work. So when we've thought about our spaces, yes, they are places where women can work, where women can have meetings, where women can socialise, where women can bring their kids. We've got the only strength training only studio for women in London. In Los Angeles, we're very skewed towards film because of it being Los Angeles and being able to showcase female filmmakers within that space. But we're not a space where you come every single day and always have a glass of water and sit and type. We just don't think that that is the right sort of model for our customer and for our mission-driven business. So we've always thought about work in the context of what women want. Alongside that, growing a scale digital platform where we can take this mission of advancing women in their careers, whatever their careers may be, and however they want to develop their careers over time. And because of the mission, we've thought about how we can deploy that at scale. And physical buildings are really hard to scale. They're incredibly capital intensive and they take quite a long time unless you're WeWork who's able to turn them over quite quickly. So we've always thought about physical spaces, flagships in sort of retail parlance. The plan has always been to have 4 or 5 clubs and then a digital platform that drives an enormous amount of scale and commitment to a community that feels a little bit like a LinkedIn or a little bit like a masterclass, but showcases female voices. That has always been the plan. What happened with COVID is what happened to everybody, which is the club shut. And I think, you know, having had the scars and be old enough and ugly enough to have gone through running a business in 2000 and running a business in 2008, running a business in the run up to COVID was like nothing I had ever experienced because we were trading fantastically. And then, as with so many of us, just like that, we had to shut the businesses down and furlough all of our club team overnight. And I think just emotionally, that was a very difficult thing to do. And I think as a leader, that's a difficult thing to do, to try and keep the community and ethos of a startup that's only a couple of years old going. But I think what it has enabled us to do is to have a real laser focus on our digital vision, on how could we bring the experience of being in one of our Allbright clubs and listening to an amazing, inspiring talk, or listening to and attending a networking event, or having one of our practical mentoring sessions, and take all of that. And as 2 founders, we've really been able to focus on that over the last 3.5 months at a time when all of us are consuming more content than ever. But also, frankly, if you look at some of the talent that we've been able to have on our platform over lockdown period, it's been off the chart because everybody's been at home. So in normal circumstances, our ability to access Rose McGowan or Tina Brown or, you know, any of these people, it's hard, right? But I think there's been a period of time when people have been more accessible and where we've all had this human desire to give back. So it has changed the way we think about space a bit. You know, I think that any sense in which our business plan is to roll out 20, 30, 40 of these clubs has gone, because we've seen how much traction we can get from the digital offering and how authentic that can be. So I think we definitely feel less is more. I think none of us know what life is going to look like. So when we open our doors a week on Monday, we will do so with caution. We won't open every floor of all of our buildings. We won't have the full offering back in the way that it was before lockdown, because it's not sensible to do that. You know, we're thankful for some of the loosening around social distancing that's happening here and in the US. But what none of us know is, how will our audience consume? How will they think about space? How will they think about work? You know, our community of women, as I said at the beginning, has been hard hit. Our community has had to think differently about their careers, about work. They're on furlough there, and none of us know what that will feel like. Also, the experience of being in an Allbright is very premium. The places are beautiful. Our women are wonderful, amazing, inspiring, high-end women who are members of the physical spaces. Are they going to want to come back to be served in PPE when they can't order from a menu, when they can't use a proper knife and fork, when there's no salt and pepper cellar on the table for now? So I think we're all going through a journey as to how space will feel. Just to end this, and I'm sure that everybody else on the call feels that the world of work is changing, and we've all followed that. Facebook dropping its offers, Twitter, you can work from home forever and ever. You know, loads of press about what space will mean for work and for people dropping in, dropping out of space in a different way. I think that's very much in our favour, as I'm sure many of the other people on the call will argue too. Because if you don't have a fixed office that you go to every day, you want spaces that you feel comfortable in, where you can meet, greet, be with your team, think. So I think the opportunity is there, but we have to be realistic that come 4th of July, things will not be as they were on the 18th of March. And we're all going to have to adapt our spaces to a new way of working.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for that, David. I think Debbie touched on a point that I'd just like to perhaps invite your comments on. What has WeWork noticed, really, maybe based around how you expect people to come back to work and the changes that WeWork are implementing at the moment?
Sure. So I think a lot of what Debbie says chimes with us, and certainly over the last 10 years, our physical space is very, very important. We want the best buildings in the best locations, accessible locations, but the community is fundamental, and we've always tried to offer a lot more than physical space. And I'll talk about how that sort of ties in with my answer. I think in the short term, the feedback from our members and us as a service provider, the focus has been on health and safety. How do we make our buildings safe, compliant with law very, very quickly? And you know, every single one of our locations in the UK and Ireland is open and safe. And I think we've been quite innovative, and we've been thought leaders on how to bring people back to the office. And I actually think a key part of that, which isn't talked about enough, is communication with the members using office space, or tenants, customers, whatever you want to call them, because it's not enough just to put safeguards in place. It's communicating it effectively so people do feel safe. So we have very open dialogue with our members. So that's sort of the sort of very short-term thing that we've done, and we'll continue to keep our buildings safe and comply with government guidance. I think we've always incorporated technology into everything we do. So you know, our WeWork app, we have nearly 700,000 members globally, all using our app, talking to each other, constantly doing business with each other, and that's really a fundamental part of WeWork's offering to its members. But what we have done, which we hadn't done before, is bring our events online. So you know, the past 12, 13 weeks just in the UK, we've done 250 events. We've had 13,500 people attend. So I think what's really interesting in what a service provider can do, and a hospitality focused service provider versus a conventional landlord, is offer something that a conventional landlord doesn't. So with our platform and our resources and our membership base, we very quickly pivoted to offer something more than just our physical space. And I think a lot of conventional landlords don't do that, and it's a real string in the bow of service providers. I think in the medium term, the sort of thing that we're doing, I mean, flexibility will be more important than ever. I think it was increasingly important pre-COVID. You saw lease term lengths coming down. You saw conventional landlords setting up or investing in their own flex providers. So it was acknowledged that was important, but that trend is just accelerating. So it's making sure that is emphasized, that the flexibility offering. I think also our design solutions are very important, because for someone that wants space now, to first of all fit it out is very expensive, and saving on capex will be key for any company. But then also we may have to reconfigure space a lot more regularly to deal with health and safety issues, but also because, as Debbie said, we don't know what the future of work is. You know, we need to provide more optionality in offices, and that's how we've always focused our design. You know, event space is eating space, is workout space, is office space, and so we can save a lot of people money on that front. And then we're also doing stuff like, we've had a lot of feedback about people wanting sort of citywide access in London, for example, where they want to reduce commute time for their employees. So with our footprint, we're very fortunate to be able to do that. So we have a new citywide pass that we offer to our members, where we can help track their employees' commuter times and figure out a solution for them to work in our offices. So that's sort of medium term. Long term, it will be real crystal ball gazing, which we might get onto. But that's sort of the real tangible steps that we're taking right now.
Okay. Matt, you're slightly different because you've got an accommodation option as well. It's on some locations. Could you just explain maybe the synergies that go ahead?
Of course. Look, everyone's making really considered and valid points here, and your video touches on a point. The word co-working is a really ambiguous term because it's going to mean different things to different people. So is your colleague, is that a co-worker? A lot of people perceive co-working as an environment where there's just a big room with loads of tables and it's all freelancers and marketeers and creative industries getting together. But I believe it's far more than that, okay? I like to think as co-working environments. Some people are going to use co-living environments or these hospitality environments as ecosystems, okay? And what each element of that ecosystem should be providing is a very specific purpose and function to what we do, okay? So the stay function, the service department, the long-term let function is about giving people a space to live, okay? In short, it's their space to live. The labs function in regards to our office, what we provide in terms of flexible workspace environments, is about giving companies, individuals, freelancers the opportunity to meet and engage. And ultimately, this immeasurable term that you hear from time to time is productivity. And we've just gone through probably the world's biggest social enterprise experiment where everyone's been going home. Okay, everyone's been working from home, and we've all got good success stories. And I'd imagine there was a good bunch of the audience here that has some really negative stories as well in terms of the connotations that we're doing. So I can connect with David's point there around this idea that we don't know what the crystal ball is. Okay, we don't know where we're going to be in 4 or 5 years time. And actually, I've been in the flexible workspace hospitality industry now for 15 years. And the journey that this industry has gone through, and the journey that the service-based economy has gone through, that the economy has gone through, fundamentally focusing on hospitality, has changed profoundly in 15 years, okay? People come to our environments now, whether it be an Allbright environment, whether it be a WeWork environment, for me, a labs environment, with a knowledge about what we do, about a knowledge about their environment that they want to be in. And they have choice and they have variety. And that is the brilliance of this industry, whether it be the accommodation industry or be it the flexible workspace industry, that there is a choice and there is a variety. And our consumer, we have to put them at the heart of everything we do. It can't be me and it can't be my peers saying that this is what we do and you should be consuming that. We should all be driven by what our customers want. And that is a different set of experiences day in, day out. People want physical experiences. They want digital experiences. They want tangible experiences that are going to help them as an individual grow. And if it's their business owners, them as a business owner to grow and thrive as well.
Okay, thank you, Matt. David, I think it's predicted there's going to be a lot of displacement of big office blocks and ultimately people coming into work. And the commute may change, with people having a reluctance to go on the tube. Are you expecting, an influx of members from corporates that have had the big office blocks, maybe 1 or 2 locations in perhaps, key cities, to maybe look more at WeWork as a function of their business, but slightly?
Yes, so we've engaged with lots of our sort of corporate members and our smaller, medium-sized businesses, I think, who have very different priorities and balance sheets and ways of looking at their workforce. And it really does vary. But I think overwhelmingly what we're hearing is, we are obviously going to enter a recession. We're seeing GDP shrinking significantly in the UK now anyway. So flex has so many advantages over conventional deals. From, why would you do a 5, 10, 15-year deal if you can do a 1 month, 6 month, 2-year deal with a flex provider? Why would you commit to something in such an unknown period? So as I mentioned before, spending money or huge money on CapEx, concerns about redesigning space, etc. So I think that there's a cost element that can't be underplayed for most businesses that haven't benefited from the COVID situation. But then we are also hearing from members that and prospective members that previously took these huge offices, expected their employees to go into work, were very, very resistant to offering working from home or any form of flexibility. And it's not as bad as everyone thought it would be. I do think that we sort of over-egg that this great experiment has worked well and working from home is a dream. I think it's an incredibly imperfect experiment. We all locked down for the greater good. And I think if this was a more permanent arrangement, a lot of people would get incredibly frustrated. So I think corporates are still working out exactly what it means for their footprints, but we are seeing a huge uptick in inquiries now as corporates try and figure out how they're going to return to work. And A, don't want to enter into long leases. This is, of course, a generalization. B, want to offer flexibility to their employees by having spaces in different parts of the city. And C, just buy time to see how it goes. And we can offer them that time and flexibility.
Okay. Yeah, super. From a hospitality perspective, okay, we haven't got Stéphane on the call, but I'm hearing that a lot of hotels are looking to repurpose their space, maybe with less of an F&B offering because of the heightened cleanliness. Have you made any changes or are planning to make any changes to the look and feel of your building? So when your members come back, is F&B going to be more of a perhaps grab and go, and it might already be in some instances? Would anybody like to take that?
I don't mind giving you a viewpoint from the Labs Collective point of view. I think there's a number of elements to that conversation and that point. The physical, tangible, the bricks, the mortar, the design, the lighting. I don't believe you're going to see profound changes around anyone's particular spaces in the short term. David's quite rightly touched on a viewpoint that things will evolve as we grow, and the product that we all operate in today and the products we're creating will be different in 5-6 years time because you adjust with the market. Okay. The co-working industry, the flexible workspace industry has to learn from hotels and service departments and vice versa. And there are lots of good things. In the short term, the one thing that is very, very, very clear to me is that our consumers and our customers are really focused about fewer touch points, okay, physical touch points. And what they want to do is know that they've got confidence in the environment that they're in, the products they're consuming, what they might be taking out of a jar, the type of coffee, has this cup been cleaned, has this cup been used by somebody else, the gym downstairs, is that cleaned after every use, should you be booking the gym on a regular basis? All of these fixtures and facilities that, dare I say, we've somewhat taken for granted because they exist everywhere. Okay, they really, really, really do. But what we are having to do is look at every single one of those physical touch points and remove things. So it may mean that the food and beverage offering in the short term is reduced. It may mean that we may see a drive for businesses to take in takeaway services from Deliveroo and Uber, which again is going to create new digital marketing experiences for all of us to engage with overall. But what I want to get clear to everybody is that our customers, our consumers, for all of us have choice and variety, and that they can get a cup of coffee from us, from our neighbors, from the well-known sort of hospitality brands from Seattle and so forth. And it's just about giving them confidence that we, them, whoever are consuming from the right tangible areas. But I don't believe you're going to see massive physical changes in the short term. I do believe the way we consume those items is changing, the way that you're going to have to order off of applications and so on and so forth. Cleanliness, all of these things are going to have a profound impact in every one of our environments.
I think that I slightly disagree with that, which is I think we will see some short-term changes. So we've got 3 clubs that we're thinking about how we configure them for opening. So number 1, we're thinking very differently about what the offering is around children and childcare in our buildings. It's not something that we've really ever offered during the week. We do run the small bright at weekends in all of our clubs, but I think women and how they look after their children and having kids at home and having kids out of school and having a very long summer has changed the way that we think about configuring space. And that also has an F&B impact because we only run a kids menu on a Saturday. Now we're looking at doing that in the week. So, you know, there are actually some very real changes when we think about okay, how will women use our space. At the moment in the UK and in the US, gyms are not allowed to be open. So we have a wellness floor in all of our buildings. We are also slightly confusingly allowed to do our hair, but we are not allowed to do our nails, eyebrows and eyelashes or facials at the moment. Go figure. So in actual fact, we are having to do a slightly different thing than the process you described, Matt, which is very quickly reconfigure space in all of our buildings to fit with regulations. So I agree with everything you've said. Light touch, no menus, pre-booking space, our roof terraces. From yesterday evening and a little earlier in the US, the wave of incoming for people wanting to book to eat outside on our roof terrace in Mayfair and in West Hollywood was massive. It isn't the reconfiguration we thought we were going to have to do when we were worried that social distancing would be 2 meters, because that would have taken that part out of the building and the business model. But our concept will behave differently in the short term. And so the buildings need to be way more flexible than we imagined that they would need to be. And so does our process as entrepreneurs as to what that offering looks like. Also, we have just spoke on what David said about the amount of programming WeWork has done in the last 3.5 months. So we've had over 100,000 women in our events over the last 3.5 months. And, there's some big questions for us about, do we bring all of that programming back into our physical spaces? Are women going to want to come into town, as it is for all 3 of our clubs, which are in central locations here and in the States, to experience that? Are they going to want to physically network, or are they going to want to keep doing all of that online? So that's also the layer of unknown. We've always thought about our spaces, okay, we've got an event hire space that does this, and we've got a restaurant that does this, and a bar space that does this, and a roof terrace that does that, and 1 floor of what, and it's all up for grabs right now. Because back to my initial point, we just don't know how consumers are going to want to consume and use space. And a lot of that changing consumer behavior will hit us in the short term.
I think I certainly, it sounds like we share a lot of sentiment in regards to how we believe things will change and differ. The variations in terms of our product offerings are going to differ in terms of how we facilitate and serve as well. So the childcare aspects, the nichification of what we may do or another location may do as a consequence will make variances. But from where we were on March the 1st to March the 23rd to just 24 hours ago means that we're ever learning, and we're ever learning about the world we live and shape. We will optimistically want the future to be a better place. And it's amazing to hear these great stories around digital experiences, the events, the digital programming that people can take advantage from. For me, we want to give, I think for everyone listening today, is us as landlords, developers, hospitality providers, workspace providers, hotel providers, we want to give ourselves, our staff, our customers, the world a confidence be as confident as they can in regards to how they consume our products and our offerings. Because what we do today will certainly be different in 3 months' time. It will be different in 6 months' time. And I look forward to reconnecting with all the individuals on this call about their success stories in the next 6 to 12 months. But like David, our inquiries for space, be it meeting room space, event space, office space, our stay environments, our service departments, have really begun to increase quite rapidly in the last 3 weeks. We are not pre-COVID levels, but we are seeing returns to those kind of questions and activity. 2020 may be tough for some of us, but I'm certainly optimistic that all of us will have a place in our various markets in the coming years.
Okay, thank you, Matt. There is a chat function on the webinar, so do keep your questions coming. We have had one earlier. With workplaces being built into new developments, how can tenants feel like they aren't trapped in a small bubble of one city block, living and working within the same building? It might be a slightly premature question because, of course, you know, there aren't many people necessarily working in an office environment with live, but perhaps you've got, you know, the growth of mixed use developments. Who would like to take that? Maybe Matt, because you're probably perhaps closest to it. That was from Michael Golding from Noise Aware.
Yeah, no problem. Look, I'll do my best to be succinct, which is not my strong point. Okay, we do have shared environments. Okay, we do have shared facilities within a geographical block. Okay, but what I'm really keen to tell people, and what I'm really keen to define, is that those are specific facilities and specific areas and specific environments that serve a purpose. Okay, so if you want somewhere to live and breathe and be accommodated, and whatever that looks like, then that is a specific function that you can go and consume. Okay, if you want somewhere to work in your own private office, in a shared area, in a meeting room, again, that serves its own specific function as well. We are lucky as a provider that we believe we can provide a range of these services and these desires, but really it's about, dare I say, it's the choice of the consumer on whether they want to consume all of it or part of it. Now, this idea that you turn up in one of the buildings and you enter the building at 8 o'clock and you leave the building at 6 o'clock, having had your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, seen a dentist, got all of your dry cleaning, for labs is not something that we are trying to really focus on and do. Okay, there are plenty of places out there that will do that. There are employers, some of the companies that you mentioned at the beginning of the call are certainly doing those kind of environments. But the idea is that we've got to make sure those places are purposeful, that we are present, and that we have a set of values. And those set of values will be the same across every single one of those product lines, but they will all operate in their own unique way.
Can I say something about that as well, Piers?
Of course, yeah.
Just two things. I think it's really important, and I think it's what Matt was saying as well, that people, customers, members, tenants, they have optionality in buildings and in sub-markets, and I think the more options you have in a building, the better. So our newest flagship in Waterloo, 10 York Road, has a yoga studio, a meditation room, a restaurant on the restaurant terrace on the top floor, etc., as well as lots of flexible offering and coffee and pop-up restaurants. But there is absolutely no obligation to use it. It's just giving someone an option when they are having a busy day, or they want to show off space or put things on social media. And I think it's about making sure that you create a culture at a company where you give people freedom to have time away from their desk. That's very important for mental health. I think the second thing is, I completely agree with the question. So why would you want to be stuck in one building forever? I think it's not good for productivity. It's not good for creativity. It's not good to meet other people you wouldn't normally come across and share ideas. And that's why I think what we all do is really, really important. Again, beyond the sort of bricks and mortar, but I think all three of our organizations offer something way, way beyond that, from events and socializing. And we more and more the feedback from our members is how valued that is. And yeah, the building looks great, but I met someone that I'm now investing with, or I've hired a developer who I met, you know, having a coffee at an event, or I got some advice on marketing at a WeWork event. It's offering something more than that, and giving people options across the city or globally. I think it's very, very important.
Okay. Yes, thank you, David. Obviously, going back into maybe hospitality and hotels, one of the questions that's on a lot of people, hotel owners' lips, is the business centre. We all know, you know, the hotel business centre and the amount of space it's got. Is that going to be around in 3 to 5 years? And if so, you know, well, maybe say 1 to 3 years now. And if so, what form, if any? Would anybody like to have a stab at some future gazing there?
I'll give a brief overview, I guess. You won't hear any of us on the phone calling our AR locations a business centre anymore. We don't even use the word serviced office much anymore. We use terms like flexible workspace, leisure spaces, hospitality spaces, well-being. You will see business centres in bright lights in some of the world's biggest hotels, dare I say. And I always wonder what function they serve, because they're often dark, dingy spaces with not much natural light in them as well. So I wonder if in the short term we're going to see a drive towards privacy. People are working on desks and functions in their room. There will always be a desire for a business centre somewhat being maybe considered like a lounge environment as well. There's a word David used, okay, and I'm going to dwell on it for a second: culture. Okay, this being at home thing. If you've got a business that's been trading for 10 years and you've got the same individuals and you've already had that socialization element, you've already connected with people, you've already created your culture, and you can continue to breed that culture by being at home. But when you are trying to employ grads, you're trying to employ new people to go into business, culture is really something that is about bringing people together. So I am keen that we all represent that cultural point as well. But going back to this business center element, hotels will always have that service and will always want to provide it. Whether it's a specific room, I doubt. Whether it's more of a considered lounge environment, a more hospitality-led environment, where you may be served a coffee, where you can take advantage of food and beverage, that's where I think you may see the new business center arrive, so to speak.
But I think also that there's an opportunity there, I would say, because it's a partnership opportunity. So if you think about Allbright, all hotels with targeting business travelers are looking for more women to stay in their hotels. And the experience of being a business traveler as a woman is generally not a great one. And so why wouldn't there be the right sort of partnership in this new era of collaboration where we could create Allbright lounges in hotels, and where some of that Allbright programming that drives community and connection for women around the world takes place in a hotel environment or is offered to female travelers who are staying in hotels. So I think that that's the opportunity that actually the topic of the conversation today, Piers, as you've framed it, is around workspitality, or I can't even quite say that without smirking, but I think we kind of know what you mean. But I feel that there's another level to that in terms of business opportunity, because everything is all about the customer and community now more than ever. And we are also, which is something we perhaps don't have the right amount of time to talk about today, but we're entering a world where business travel is different. I mean, I've never spent so long in one place in my adult life. And as someone with a big part of my business in America, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get on a plane anytime soon. What's it going to be like from work? How do we travel for what? What are our expectations? Is it all the same as it was before? Or is it not the same as it was before? But I think if we're going to take anything from COVID, it's the sense in which community really matters and can make a difference. And so that sort of smart partnership between hotel operators and hospitality operators that focus on community, I think, is a big opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. We've got another one from Frederick Fontaine, which is perhaps a an observation more than a question. Interesting how spaces may be reconsidered with COVID and digital. What about virtual reality offices?
I'll say on that, like, I think a lot of feedback we've had from members and also from our employees, colleagues, is the office is very, very important for physical interaction. And Matt makes a very good point that where you have a culture that has existed for 10 years, it's a lot easier to be away from an office. But if you have a new starter or a new business and you're trying to form a culture, it becomes more difficult. But I think it's still relevant for both. People crave human interaction. And I think the office will have to work a lot harder to make sure that the interactions are productive and effective. But I'm sure there's room for virtual reality. But I don't think that the human contact offering of an office will ever go away. I think that's really important, even if that happens less regularly than it did pre-COVID.
It worries me, this idea that the office, or a number of the cafes in the popular press are stating that the footfall of people is going to disappear. Personally, I met my wife in the office. Okay, I met my wife working in the same office. So to me, I'm reflecting on 14 years of a relationship, thinking, how could I have had that if there wasn't that kind of environment for us? And now I know there's, again, someone will quite rightly argue there are digital ways of meeting people. I don't deny that at all, but physical interactions, I mean, day in, day out, I share the sentiment that we crave seeing people. We people watch. It creates engagement, it creates new opportunities, and these things are, I think, are resoundingly important to us in every day of our lives. But what I'm keen to convey is there's a balance, and that we are hopefully going to see, as we all return back to some degree of normality, in the best possible health, in the best possible strength, we as consumers ourselves, and what we should be providing should be about giving people choice and variety and different experiences for what each of those parties want and need.
Yeah, maybe there's a halfway house. Maybe there's a halfway house. I think with what everybody's had to deal with and how virtually everybody has embraced the virtual side of things. Maybe offices, hotels will be looking to provide a lot more tech-enabled stuff, so you can connect a lot more easily. Thank you for that, Matt. So we are nearly at the end, which is unfortunate. Last question. What's the DNA? What will be, let's call it Workspitality's DNA moving forward? And I know I'm obviously aware that there are a lot of unknowns at the moment, but maybe 2 or 3 phrases from each of you, if that's okay, which perhaps sums up, the experience that you're providing when, hopefully we get some sort of normality over the next couple of weeks. And whoever really wants to take that first.
As I think it's community. I know that's a very sort of overused word, or we've all used it a lot over the last hour, but I think community, authenticity of connection, and some fun. I mean, the incoming from our members over
too right. Yeah.
Our roof terraces are sponsored by Verve Clicquot over the summer, and that's 6th of July, and there's a lot of women who want to be out there having a bit of fun, so we shouldn't forget about that.
Very good. David?
I think I'm expecting an invite to these terraces.
Yeah.
So building, David, as you may be aware.
So I think that the most important thing, and it is just to put the member, the customer, at the center of everything if you want to do Workspitality, and really effectively listen to what they want. I think what's clear from today's conversation is that it's a really, what members want and need, or what customers want and need, is a very evolving piece right now. And what is suitable today will not be suitable in 6 months or a year's time. So if you really want an office environment that focuses on hospitality, listen to what people want. Don't assume, don't just keep doing something because we've done it for dozens, hundreds of years, or because your bank or valuer is telling you to do it that way. Listen to your customer.
getting harder for you now, Matt. You've had community.
I'm trying to think of some new buzzwords.
Matt's mentally on the terrace right now.
Yeah, I am in the Verve Clicquot tent, so to speak.
Yeah.
Overall, the word fun is really important, okay, because it's been really tough for a lot of people, us as a business, individuals, personally, professionally, for lots of people over these last few months. So fun is a resoundingly brilliant thing for me to talk about. I guess that listening to our customers for me would form two key words really stick in my mind. One is agility in our offering. And within agility, I'm going to put in brackets learning, okay, because we are learning. This is an evolving thing that we all do, okay, and it's about new experiences, new opportunities, new ways of doing, new ways of designing, new ways of integrating ideas and technology into what we do. And lastly, I want to say to people is that given the world we live in today is about making sure we all provide safe environments, okay, and those safe environments will give all of us, as employers of people, people want to attract clients to our buildings, to our offering, to our products, will give everyone confidence. And that goes, you know, and I dare I say I'm summarizing what has been said before me here, but it really amalgamates everything. And it really should give us all the premise and the platform to create good, solid futures for our businesses and what we do.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, that was super. So, big thank you to you guys, and apologies on behalf of Stéphane. Stéphane has been trying to get on the call for the duration and unfortunately hasn't managed to do so. But we will include Stéphane, I think, maybe in a future webinar or podcast to get the WOJO experience and take on their approach and innovation within the Workspitality marketplace. Just a reminder, the next webinar is next Wednesday, 2 p.m, based around hotel funding and investment with Maria Peer from Citizen M, Tim Helliwell from Barclays, Andrew Harrington, AHV, and Mirzak Kador at Eden. The link's on the website, so if you do wish to join that one, feel free. Okay, just a quick reminder, that's what we're all building up for. The signs are really good. It's the 25th to the 26th of November. Okay, there's our sponsors list. We're announcing some more sponsors over the next few weeks, and really grateful for the commitment from those guys. And I think the next slide is the media partners. Yeah, a growing list of media partners, and just really to promote the reach of the event, and I look forward to seeing as many of you at that. If you are looking to sponsor the event, do have a conversation with Katie. Her details are on the screen. And that is the series of webinars that we've got coming up, some really of the moment topics there. And I think that is it. Big thank you, Matt, Debbie, and David. And again, apologies that Stéphane wasn't on the call. I hope everybody that joined the webinar enjoyed it. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your commitment to the hour. And I hope you've just learned maybe one or two things that you can take back to your business and plan for the future. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.